The college football experience, Syracuse Orangemen 2024 season preview episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Yes, Underdog is giving away $15 million in Best Ball Mania 5. And folks, we finally have college football best ball. I've never heard of it anywhere else. Underdog's got you supplied. Sign up, and when you do, sign up with the promo code TCESGPN to claim your first time deposit offer of up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCESGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Rhythm's college football and NFL picks. Our projections for both are now live. So check them out. Claim your free 7-day trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. That once again, that's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride.
Hey everybody, Joe Theismann here. You're listening to SGPN. So do this, let it ride.
Yes, yes, yes. Welcome to the college football experience. Syracuse Orangemen 2024 season preview episode. Excited to talk about the Orange as I feel like their fan base just got like steroids right now because you're getting talent in there that it hasn't been there for a minute. It's an exciting time, even though, Fran Brown, we've never seen him coach a game, but I think it's just an exciting time, exciting offseason if you're a Syracuse Orangemen fan for basketball and football, really. So youtube.com/the college experience. We're breaking down all 134 teams with a solo podcast for each and every single team in the land. So hop on over there. Also, wherever podcasts can be found, iTunes, Spotify, all that good stuff. The college football experience. Yes, check it all out, folks, as we about to break down the Syracuse offense, defense, special teams, coaching front, coaching higher, and go game by game on the Orangemen schedule for 2024. But first, if you're wondering just who the hell you're listening to, that is fair. My name is Colby Swing at Database Dan, a.k.a. Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
I'm probably drinking too much and celebrating too much and not sleeping. Would have killed a normal man, but no, that's gone. The medical advice I got from that was like being hit by lightning. Pretend it never happened and get on with your life.
I mean, this is Syracuse. I've always wondered in the NIL era, how the fuck are you not loading up? They got to load up. All right. Jim Brown played here. My dad to this day will say, greatest running back ever. Get your bullshit Barry Sanders and Walter Payton out of here. Jim Brown's the greatest running back that ever walked the face of the planet. Rest in peace to the great Jim Brown who passed away this past year. But yeah, I mean, Larry Zonka, Art Monk, they for a while there, they were just killing it. And I'd love to see them go back. And now that NIL is available, they have such rich alums. I feel like they should be very good. Bob Costas, come on. Donate your pink eye money, Bob Costas. Let's go. I am joined by a special guest that I was on the show last year. Not necessarily the Syracuse preview, but I just read a couple of his college football articles over at sportsgamblingpodcast.com. He's kind of a jack of all trades. You can hear him on the MLB gambling podcast, NFL gambling podcast, NBA gambling podcast. Give it up for Lonte Smith. How are you, man?
Kobe, man, I'm glad to be back here. I think we did Nevada, Oklahoma last year. I was on there. I think we got both of those right, actually. I think we hit both of those.
Boom.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to breaking down Syracuse. Exciting time for the football team and basketball team. I think if they got a good recruiting class coming in. I know you'll hit on that, in the basketball preview. But yeah, excited about football. I think the sky's the limit for the team. glad.
Yeah,
to be here.
and look, I mean, before the knock was, and I don't know, they were they really had great winning seasons. I did a deep dive on this on the offseason on our Twitter account at TCE on SGPN, but they were a really good school for producing football talent for a long time, and it felt like when they joined the ACC or maybe the last years in the Big East, it kind of fell off a little bit. They've still had some solid years. Babers had a 10 or 11 win season, I feel like. But they just didn't before they were getting Donovan McNabb and just really good football players. And it seemed like there hadn't been that level of that player in a while. And they go out. Obviously, Dino Babers' 10 years done. I like Dino Babers, by the way. I think he deserves another shot as a head coach somewhere. But they go out and get Fran Brown, which is an interesting hire, I would say. Like at first, I'd be lying to you folks out there if I didn't say who. You know what I mean? Like I was not familiar with Fran Brown's work, but his resume speaks for itself. He's never been a head coach ever. But YouTube.com/The College Experience. I'm going to put up some graphics here. This is a guy that I think, the more you look into, the more, I feel like you should be excited about this guy being your head coach and the future potentially of the program. He's never been a head coach. So we're always, it doesn't matter who we're talking about. When you've never been a head coach, you're always a little weary. But this is a guy that played for Western Carolina. Shout out to Weehawk. I know he's probably rooting for Fran Brown. He's a big Western Carolina guy. He spent a year on the Cincinnati Bengals as well, but he's from Camden, New Jersey. And I think we circled that. But then you look at who he coached under, Steve Addazio. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of Steve Addazio, but one thing I will say is like he was good on the recruiting front. Matt Rule, I think, is a terrific college football coach. Greg Schiano, I think, is a terrific college football coach. And then Kirby Smart. He won a national championship recently or two. So, I mean, it's a pretty damn good resume, if I may say so. Their offensive coordinator is Michael Johnson. Their defense coordinator is Elijah Robinson and Robert Wright. But what do you make of the hire overall, Lonte?
Yeah, I love it. Short term and long term. You mentioned the coaching, the utility that he's been, the tree that he's been under. So I think that's going to mold him into a good motivator. Obviously, I didn't know much about him either, but you do some reading and some digging, you find out he was behind a lot of that recruiting of Georgia. Obviously, he wasn't the main guy, but did a lot of the recruiting, and you can see it on full display as soon as he gets to the job. He's going to try to tap into that area of Pennsylvania, of New Jersey, New York, to kind of keep those guys, in the area rather than going, to Big Ten country and in the Midwest. So I think he's going to do a good job there. I'm excited to see what he has. Obviously, just listening to like post game or pressers and different things, interviews, sounds like a confident guy that's going to be buttoned up and have his team ready to go. So I'm excited to see the result on the field.
Yeah, and me and Patty C have always lobbied, or me and NC Nick, that I get it. The South, Texas, California produces a ton of talent, but there are some underrated states out there, and I think Pennsylvania, New Jersey would strike me as underrated. Even Maryland, if you can get into Maryland there. Those states produce more talent, I think, than some people think. I think some people just think, oh, it's automatic, but there's been some really good talent in those states over the years. And if he could put up a fence there on that and just, get some big names into Syracuse, but in the NIL era, Syracuse should be really good. When you think about dude, I live in LA. Half of the movie producers I run into in LA, which, it's not like I'm running it. It's not like I'm going to big Hollywood parties, but I'm saying I've known a few, and I feel like half of them go to Syracuse. So it's or went to Syracuse. I'm telling you, I think in the NIL era, Syracuse could be very, very, kind of have a renaissance in a way from a football and basketball point of view. And Fran Brown brings excitement, and we're going to talk about what he brings in. Like I said, I'd never seen him coach a game. So I was a bit, anytime that happens, you're just like, I don't know. But then you look at what he's already done before they've ever kicked off the ball, and you got to be impressed. We're going to talk about that in a second. But folks, I want to tell you, you are listening to the College Football Experience Syracuse Orangemen preview, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Yes, the Sports Gambling Podcast launched their 32-team NFL preview series, solo podcast for all 32 teams. And as a bonus, each team preview will include a code word. Submit the 32 code word phrase, and you could be the lucky winner who gets a $500 NFL Circa future bet. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and the SGPN app, which is free to download in the App Store and Google Play Store. So do that. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride. All right. We are back talking Orangemen football. Shout out to Q's Fanatic in the chat because he's in our fantasy football draft. So we're doing a college fantasy football draft right now. And I'm sure he's bitter that I took what I think will be the best offensive player on Syracuse, but I guess we'll talk about that in a second here. Shout out to Robert Martin, who's checking in from Winnipeg, Canada. Love Winnipeg, Canada. Check out the CFL Gameland podcast, folks. I gotta just talk the hire was kind of out of left field, but not really when you think he's from Camden. Or when you find out he's from Camden, you're like, okay, he's a Northeasterner. He should be able to lock down maybe even Carolina. Some he played at Western Carolina. I don't know. Maybe he's plugged in maybe a little bit there, but what would you grade that if you had to just say, cause I mean, there's a little bit of unknown there. So we can't say A, but damn, if I don't think it's like a high B+ because of what he's already done.
Yeah, I think you're right on par with a B+, simply because you can tell that he is a great recruiter, but he goes immediately and gets Kyle McCord, which is one of the best. He wasn't, well, to me, everybody has different, feelings about Kyle McCord, but to me, even if he stayed at Ohio State, I thought he could have beat out Will Howard. I don't think Will Howard is, this next coming of CJ Stroud or anything like, or just or anything like that.
It makes two of us.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think he was, I think McCord is fine, but again, in this setting, as far as Syracuse, I don't think they've had a quarterback like since Dundee, right? They don't have a quarterback this good since Dundee, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess they might try to say DeVito, but
no.
Yeah. He's clearly. I think he might even be the best they've had since. Dare I say McNabb? I mean, the guy was. He was a big time recruit. Just because he struggled a little bit, the guy still went 11-1. Right. I'm not putting that Michigan game on him. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think there's a lot to be excited about if you're a Syracuse fan, bringing in talent like that. Now we do this thing with every Power 5 team where we look at the worst loss just cause I want to humble the fans out there listening. You're thinking, oh, we got Fran Brown. We're bringing in Georgia recruits, Georgia transfers, Ohio State transfers. We're going to win a natty. Well, I want to humble yourself here. I want to go through, I want to talk about, I'm a big fan of sports misery. You know what I mean? Like, as long as it's not my team, if I can watch someone else's sports misery, I think it's always, it's fun. Like when the Cubs were, I'll be honest, when the Cubs were about to win the World Series, I was rooting for them to lose because Colby, do you hate the Cubs? No, not at all. I kind of like the Cubs, but I just thought it would be hilarious that they get that close, almost like Cleveland Brown era, with 99-yard drive by Elway or something. You get that close to potentially getting there, and you lose. Scott Norwood, Buffalo Bills. There's a lot of examples.
You gotta love the Buffalo Bills then.
Yeah. I mean, it's sports misery. That's what I'm saying. It's just it's something good about it. But looking at this, Lonte, these are the worst losses I could find since the turn of the century here. Which one should they be most embarrassed about? Should it be? My first thought was, well, first off, shout out to ECU, and I noticed Syracuse, you haven't scheduled ECU since 34-17 ass whooping at Dowdy Ficklin. But my first thought was the Akron one, but then I was like, damn, if Liberty wasn't like in their first couple of years in the FBS.
That's the first one that popped out to me. I thought that this was probably when they first made the jump from FCS. So that was the one that popped out to me.
Yeah, so the Liberty 38-21 at the Carrier Dome.
South Florida's pretty bad too.
South Florida had their number, and this isn't in the Big East. This is since they left for the ACC.
Right.
So, the Bulls 45-0. That is a true ass whooping. All right, look, we're going to talk about the Syracuse offense heading into the season here. But before we do that, I want to tell you the Syracuse Orangemen previews brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy just launched Underdog Streaks. Hit your first 2 picks, your pick 'em entries there, and you Go streaking. Yes, bring your green hat. Look, if you can go an 11-0 run, you can win 1,000 times the amount of money you enter. Plus, Best Ball Mania is live with $15 million in prizes, folks. You can now use specials and boost on all flexed entries. So sign up and don't forget to use the promo code TCESGPN to claim your special pick plus first time deposit offer of $250 in bonus cash. Folks, they have college football best ball. I mean, I've been waiting for that for like 20 years. I've been waiting for that longer than the fans have been waiting for the video game. And I love the video game too, but I'm saying like, this is a beautiful thing. Underdogfantasy.com, promo code TCESGPN. We're also brought to you by OddsJam. OddsJam is your one-stop shop for beating the sportsbook. All right. And OddsJam uses millions of data points across every US and Canadian sportsbook to show you the best value plays for your money. Their line shopping tool shows you the best price for any bet you would make across, countless different sports books. Not just the big ones, DK and FanDuel, but Bet Online, Cut, Bovada, and much, much more. And their arbitrage tool will find opportunities where you bet both sides of the same prop on different sports books to guarantee a positive ROI. If you're interested in trying out OddsJam, you can get a free 7-day trial period. By going to oddsjam.com and use that promo code SGPN. Don't forget the promo code SGPN here. You get 35% off your first month of your subscription, folks. So check out OddsJam. All right, back talking Syracuse Orangemen football here. The offense a year ago, Jason Beck was running the offense. He's now at New Mexico. I don't know how much these stats we should put weight. Whenever you have a first year coach who's bringing in his guys, an OC, a DC. This is the format of the show though, but I'm saying, I don't know how much stock we put into these because the team looks completely different than a year ago. They were 90th in scoring offense a season ago, 23.5 points per game. That was 11th out of 14 in the ACC. Remember, there's 17 teams in the ACC this year. 97th in yards, 12th best in the ACC. 114th in passing, dead last in passing. Now I know they had some quarterbacks get dinged up, but still, and I know they put a tight end at quarterback, which which kind of makes me like them even more. But 47th in rushing, 172 yards per game. That's what happens when you put a tight end at quarterback. Your rushing stats will be all right because you're not going to be able to throw the rock. 8th in the ACC. I mean, which one jumps out to you the most there? Is it just the fact they couldn't pass the ball? Yeah,
that's the most like that's so crazy. And they were switching quarterback. They were missing their best weapon in Gadson. I guess it depends, Allen or Gadson, depending on which one you favor more. I think is two of the better skill position guys, regardless if you want to rank them 1A, 1B, whatever.
But Gadson was out in the year early.
Yeah, I think he played only like 2 or 3 games. So I mean, I can kind of understand it, but it's still like insane that you're Syracuse and you don't have a backup quarterback to, at least get you above or inside the top 100. I mean,
yeah, I completely agree. And yeah, those numbers are pretty bad there to be dead last in the ACC. They got 7 starters back. LeQuint Allen is a stud, man. Yeah, he is. I drafted him in fantasy. I know Q's Fanatic 44 did win the fantasy football championship last year, but you didn't get your boy. All right, I got him, and I'm coming for you. Orande Gadson's back as well, and Dan Villari, who was their makeshift quarterback. Both tight ends back. Umari Hatcher back at the wide receiver spot, even though I don't know that he'll start this season because they've really added some receiver depth. 3 of 5 back on the O-line. Kicker Brady Denneberg back as well. Anytime like doing the show 5 years ago, like 7 starters back, you'd be like, okay, that's normal. Like 7 starters back now is like, holy shit, they got 7 starters back because the portal's insane. So I think that's a very good thing for Fran Brown to walk into in year 1 is that much continuity. Now they did lose some guys in the portal. Luke McPhail, who was deep on the quarterback depth chart, he headed out to Utah Tech. Juwan Price, who I remember previously before Syracuse at New Mexico State, he can ball. He's going to North Texas. Destin Hawkins going to Nevada. Damian Alford, wideout, heading to Utah. I know Utah's kind of liking that get. Bryce Cahoon to the Kansas Jayhawks. Isaiah Jones also to New Mexico, following Jason Beck over to the Lobos. Also 3 on the offensive line. UConn just come in and say, we'll take your leftovers. See you on the schedule too. All in all though, like, especially when you compare to what they bring in, which we're going to go through right now, I am really excited about this future that we have here. So Kyle McCord comes over. Obviously he's 11-1 as a starting quarterback, folks. I think this is going to be refreshing for him. They put so much pressure on you to win at Ohio State. You know, there was a monumental moment after the Michigan game where I know like he was emotional with his mother after losing that game, which obviously meant so much. And I know the fans were giving him a hard time about him getting emotional. I understand it. It's Ohio State, Michigan. That's what you sign up for. But at the same time, you're a fucking like 20-year-old dude. You know what I mean? Like you're a 19-year-old guy. You just went 11-1. Relax. You know what I mean? Like I think this is going to be a breath of fresh air for him. I think he goes to Syracuse. You know, their expectations are not through the roof, and I think that in itself can make him be him more. You know what I mean? Just relax. I don't have this pressure of being over-examined for every fucking throw that I throw. So I actually think he's going to end up probably. I mean, I say this without seeing any practice tape or anything, but I think he's going to end up being. He was a high recruit for a reason, so I think he could be a very good quarterback in the ACC and for Syracuse. And they also bring in Michael Johnson, the offensive coordinator's son from FAU, transfers in. What do you make of those QB gets?
Man, I love Kyle McCord for this. Exactly. I think you broke it down and we were talking about it behind the scenes. I compare it to what happened with Jared Goff for the Rams, like going to Detroit and everybody kind of writing him off and thinking, okay, well, McVay is, behind him. He's not that good. And then he gets into a system where it's lower expectations. You're playing more free. You don't have a lot of these, a lot of this pressure on you. And we know a lot of the game is more than likely between the ears. It's what you can deal with. And for him to be in the ACC in a low, I guess it would be like the 4th best Power 4 conference. I think we can all agree is probably the 4th best
right now. I would say right now.
Yeah. So I mean, I think he'll be under the radar. He's not going to be throwing obviously to the weapons like Marvin Harrison Jr. and some of those guys. But again, he's not going to be playing against those defenses that he was playing against in the Big Ten as well. So I think he's going to be a great get. I think he's going to perform at a high level. Obviously, it's an upgrade from what we saw. We saw with the graphic earlier that they couldn't pass the ball. So I think he's going to bring a lot of balance. And I think the guy that's going to benefit the most is going to be LeQuint Allen, because he was running into 10, 11 man boxes because they knew they couldn't throw the ball. So now he's going to be able to spread those guys out, get more balance. McCord, I mean, he's shown the ability to be able to perform in hostile environments. We saw him against Notre Dame go down, and that was a great drive by him. Ironically, I had Notre Dame in that game, so I was pissed, but
I was too.
Good drive by him. But overall, man, I think he's going to be fine in Syracuse.
Yeah, like to me, there's some type of if you're on a certain. Sometimes I know he was a high recruit from high school. But I also think you're just not used to pressure like that. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying he ran from the pressure, but I will say, because I think he had they treated him better, he would have wanted to come back. But I also think Ohio State kind of showed him the door. I think, when you're having fun, football is supposed to be fun. Mm-hmm. Hard work is a requirement in football, but I think when you're having fun, A + B = C in this, so just being able to relax, expectation isn't like that. Oh, I can go out and be me. And I think he's going to, you'll see, I think that you're going to see a better version of Kyle McCord because of that. Yes, he's playing easier defense and maybe there's some irony there, but I also just think you're not under the microscope for every goddamn throw. Right. You know what I mean? Like how many sophomore quarterbacks, can you sit there and say, or I know he was a junior last year, but I'm saying it was his first year as a starter. You know what I mean? Was he 20 years old? If I had to guess,
you see what you see what they look like without him.
Yeah. We'll see. We will see because
I mean, but we saw it in the bowl game.
Oh yeah, we did. How was that Missouri game? Right. Yeah, it's a good point. So I think the offense will flow. They brought in Will Nixon from Washington, who I like too, to add some depth to the running back room. And then this is what I'm very excited about. So you bring back a starting wideout and you bring back both your starting tight ends and Orande Gadson Jr. Let me tell you, he's going to be in the NFL. He can play. Providing he comes back from that injury healthy. I think you add 2 Georgia wideout transfers, and they're younger players too, Zeed Haynes and Jackson Meeks. And then Justus Ross-Simmons was good at Colorado State, and then Syracuse outbid some bigger schools for him. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you, when I break down this offense of like McCord, okay, I like the running backs with Allen and Nixon, and then I'm like, okay, your wideouts. I mean, I know we haven't seen these kids from Georgia really tear it up on the field, but if you get recruited to Georgia, you know what I mean? Like you can play. I'm excited about the offense. The offensive line returns 3 of 5, but guess what? They go and get 2 Georgia offensive line transfers. They also bring in Demetrius Weatherspoon from Howard. Don't sleep on these FCS gets. All right. You saw Jared Allen at Florida State, not Jared Allen, Jared Verse. Yep. Yeah. At Florida State last season, he was an Albany transfer. And he was the best player on that defense, arguably the best player on that defense. The NFL scouts, I think, would agree with me to a certain extent as well. And he came from Albany. Look, Weatherspoon's he's projected as a starter. Obviously, Savion Washington started at Kent State and Colorado. He comes in, adds some depth. That was a loss that Colorado actually hurt Colorado. A lot of Colorado's transfers out were because they weren't that great. But Washington's actually, a decent get for Syracuse. I think. I love what they did on the offensive side of the ball. And when I think about the offense for this season, I think that could be really good, man, for ACC standards. How about you?
Yeah, I agree. And just before, I was reading on like message boards and a few articles that McCord wanted to stay, like you mentioned. I think him and his dad like went to Orande and the staff, and they wanted them to like promise him a starting spot, and Orande wouldn't do it. So, they kind of moved on. And this is before they were even, in the Will Howard, sweepstakes, because, Will Howard was supposed to go to USC.
Yeah. I was shocked they went for Will Howard because I thought they're going to go for Cam Ward.
Right.
And I thought Cam Ward made a lot of sense, but I don't know, man. I think this offense will be pretty, like when I look at it compared to a year ago, it's like going to a different like world.
Especially on the offensive line. They got a nice offensive line depth. So if there's an injury or two there, they got guys that can back them up, especially the high power transfers from Georgia. So yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. We're going to talk about the defense in a second, but I do want to tell you that the college football experience is brought to you by Rhythm. Yes, football season is here, folks, and college football and the NFL models are now live on Rhythm. Create your own winning betting model or let Rhythm do the heavy lifting for you. You decide, what stats matter most for you on their, when you build your own one. And look, the custom model, just the fact you can do that is fantastic. Or you can sit back if you don't want that. You don't want to do all that work. You can just let Rhythm, in its predictive model, do all the heavy lifting for you. Rhythm uses AI projections at MIT or from MIT data scientists. I like to refer to myself as a data scientist, but I'm not. All right, you got real data scientists over here. So you're gonna want to check out Rhythm. Rhythm has you covered for NFL Week 1, college football Week 0. I could tell you. One that I like is that game in Dublin, Ireland. I think Yellow Jackets going to give Florida State a little more of a game than a lot of people think with that line. I think it's 13 right now. Last I saw, I'll take the points. I think they're going to give them a little bit of a game. Claim your free 7-day trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. We're also brought to you by Circa Survivor and Circa Millions. Yes, Circa Sports is back with Circa Survivor and Circa Millions, giving away $16 million in guaranteed prizes. If you haven't been to Circa, folks, you got to get out there. I was just there for Mountain West Media Days. It's Stadium Swim. Come on. This is like heaven for sports fans. You know what I mean? Like, this is just perfect. Imagine the regret you'll feel if you win your office survivor pool, but you didn't enter the Circa Survivor, which they've been doing for a minute, and you will really feel a lot of regret because guess what? You might win a couple $100 in your office pool or whatever, a Sports Authority gift card or some shit. I don't know, but I will tell you this: when you're an NFL survivor, your picks will win anywhere. So that means you would have been a millionaire if you had entered Circus Survivor. And trust me, that will lead to some regret you'll have. If you don't have a trip booked yet for Las Vegas before football season, may I recommend Ultimate Contest Week? It's a great time to go out. You can hang with my pals, Stacking the Money Green and Real Money Kramer, and enjoy some of the open bar events at the greatest sports book in the world, August 22nd to August 24th. Use the promo code SGP15 as well to save you 15% off your hotel room for that sign up weekend over there at Circa. But you do need to sign up with, at Circa between now and September 7th. And once you do that, you can play from anywhere. All right. You can use a proxy to play from anywhere. We even have a deal with footballcontestproxy.com to save you $50 with the promo code SGP. So check that out and make sure you check out the Circa. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride. Back talking Syracuse football. Shout out to the whole chat. Northside's in here. Big Colorado Buffalo fan. There we go. Hey, me too, buddy. All right, let's go. I can't wait to see the Orange play. He knows Ross-Simmons the dog. That's what I'm saying, man. They when I saw this portal, I was like, whoo, okay, this offense should be fun. I hope everyone stays healthy. I really do, because I think the offense could really be good. And wow, Q's Fanatic, let's go. I do have sideline season tickets. You want to come up to that filthy dome and make an SGPN press? Hey, maybe perhaps. I will definitely protest the rebuild of Archibald Stadium where so many great players played. We can do. Can I be the first guy to put the shovel in the dirt for that? Let's go. The defense. Let's get to the defense, man. 56. Rocky Long. Now I will say this: Syracuse offense could not stay on the field last year. And they hired legendary DC Rocky Long, who invented the 3-3-5 defense. A lot of people don't know that. And I'm super impressed by these numbers, considering they were on the field the entire fucking game. 36th in scoring per game, 25.4 points per game, 7th best in the ACC. 65th in yards, 9th best in the ACC. Yeah, the pass defense wasn't great, 12th best in the ACC. 59th in rush defense, 7th best in the ACC. But considering how long they were on the field, I kind of think that was actually respectable. Maybe you'd want to improve the pass defense there, but I think those numbers aren't as bad as when I thought about their season last year. I was like, they're probably worse. But what do you make of these numbers? There's anything there that jumps out to you?
Well, I think you pretty much summed it up, because the offense was going pretty much 3 and out every other possession. So for them to be able to stand tall and be able to stop some of those offenses. And I think they faced a tougher offensive schedule than they will face this upcoming year.
Agreed.
So that's even more impressive, doing that against the higher quality of offenses than what they'll face this year. And with some of the guys they got coming back, I really like that linebacker, Marlo Wax, really good linebacker. I think he'll flourish in that system. Obviously, we don't know what kind of system or what some of these players are going to do in the new systems, but I think the defense is going to translate and play well. And being that the offense will be more explosive, more balanced, they'll be fresher, deeper in the games. So I think it's going to be a good defense.
Yeah, Elijah Robinson, the new DC, and I think anytime you follow, like Rocky Long was only there 1 year, so I don't think the fan base appreciated him the way defensive football coaches would. Elijah Robinson's probably sitting there saying, "Hey, this is a pretty good situation I'm walking to," because he's probably a good judge of talent. 5 starters back on the defense. Just touched on some of the linebacking core. Okay, there we go. Derek McDonald, Marlo Wax, Justin Barron, all back in the secondary. Jaden Bellamy and Elijah Clark are back. Punter Jack Stonehouse as well as back. The D line is the one you circle, I think, just because they don't have any returning starters. But they did some things in the portal that I think are it's encouraging, I would say. They did lose some guys though. Kayvon Darton is heading out to Arizona to follow Dino Babers went to Arizona. So the connection there. Terry Lockett Jr. going to James Madison. Francois Knowlton is still in the portal. Ty Gordon going to William & Mary, the Tribe. Linebacker Leon Lowry to the Wisconsin Badgers. That's what I'm saying. They took some hits here. Stephon Thompson to Nebraska, where he reunites with his DC Tony White. Makai Mason to La Tech. Caleb Gilmore to Ball State. Jeremiah Wilson to Houston, I think, was one that, That one kind of dings, kind of stings a little bit there. Safety Miles Farmer to App State, Quan Peterson also to Coastal Carolina, and a few other ones there. YouTube.com/The College Experience. Those are, I think ideally, but anytime you bring in a new coach, people are going to leave. They're their connections with their coaches means something, or sometimes you just I don't know about this other coach. I don't know him. Oh, I get a bag of money for going to Wisconsin. Let me do that. You know what I mean? Some of these hits, though, I do think though there are a couple hits that actually mean something on this defense. But if we talk about what they bring in, I think you can relax a little bit. Fadil Diggs, I did the Texas A&M preview, and go listen to that preview. But they were surprised. Now he followed over the DC, but he was a stud for them last year.
He was.
I'll put it like this: there's not a lot of times where Texas A&M doesn't get what they want because they have a shit ton of money. So that was a bit of a surprise. Now they're still good on the D line, but they were surprised that one of their better defensive players left for Syracuse, followed the coach over to Syracuse. They also brought in James Hurd from West Virginia, Isaiah Hastings from Alabama, Deion Wilson from New Mexico State. New Mexico State won 10 games last season, folks. Then in the secondary, they didn't get any linebackers, so they feel like they're good at the linebacking core. Secondary, that Deuce Chestnut comes in from LSU. He was previously at Syracuse. So like that game, he had his best year of his career at Syracuse. Yep. Clarence Lewis comes in from Notre Dame. Marcus Washington from Louisville. Devin Grant from Buffalo, and Grant's projected to be a starter. Long snapper Jacob Zur from Wake Forest. But man, I'll put it like this. And I don't want to read the name brand thing too much, or lean into it too much, but it's not often that Syracuse brings in the starting quarterback from Ohio State or any program like that. And for Georgia Bulldogs, Notre Dame, LSU, Alabama, A&M transfers, they brought Fran Brown. I haven't seen the guy coach a game, but I am fucking impressed. Yeah. What do you think this defense will do? And what do you make of that portal gathering?
Yeah, overall, I think it's a winner because if you look at the stuff that they lost a lot of the linebacking core, they're fine at linebacker. So I don't think that's an issue. A lot of those guys that left were linebackers, and they knew they weren't going to see the field. So maybe a little bit of depth issues is a concern, but I'm pretty sure you got some younger guys in the waiting. But yeah, I'm more intrigued by the defensive front. Those there's a high quality schools. Obviously, they went there and couldn't get on the field, so it's unproven talent. But again, you're betting on talent more likely than not. And I think Diggs actually produced in the SEC for them.
Yeah, Diggs is legit.
Yeah, him and Walter Nolan were pretty good on that defensive front. So I think that this is a win for them. Obviously, it's all dependent upon scheme and what they run. But overall, the biggest question mark is the defensive line. I'm not sure about the depth, but they got some guys, some key pieces for the starters. The back end, I think they'll be fine. Like I said, the linebackers in the secondary, I think they'll be fine there, especially with Deuce being back. He is able to shut down at least half of the field whenever he's locked in. So I think overall win for the transfer portal for the defense. I'm kind of worried if I had any question marks, it would be with the defensive line and the depth.
Yeah, Diggs did have 8 sacks last year, folks. That's what I mean. He got after it, and then Deion Wilson at New Mexico State, he started for them. So it's okay. New Mexico State won at Auburn. You might forget. You might think of New Mexico State in years past. They were good last year. I'm impressed by this. Let's take a look at the win total here, because I think the offense could be better. I think the defense could be better. Depth does matter. The win total sitting at 7. Now I will say, as I grabbed this earlier today, the over is at -120. The under is at +100. They're +4,500 to win the ACC championship, +4,000 to make the 12 team playoff, +70,000 to win the Natty. I don't understand the odds on the ACC championship, the 12 team playoff, because I almost feel like they have to win the ACC championship.
Right.
I guess theoretically, if they lose one game, but I think I would just play the +4,500 to win the ACC championship. But what's your first reaction when you see that win total?
My first reaction is over, and I wanted it to be like 6.5, thinking that they wouldn't, they kind of wouldn't overreact too much. But I think 7 is still a doable number. You got the push insurance, in case obviously you don't want to push, but just in case, 7 wins there. Yeah, when I look through, I know we're gonna go through the schedule, but just when I look at the schedule early on, they could be 5-0 going into Raleigh for NC State. So you're telling me they can't pick up 3? Pittsburgh, Virginia Tech, BC, Cal, UConn, and Miami. That's how I'm breaking it down. And I think they can go over and get to 8 wins.
Yeah. My first thought, if you don't look at the schedule, your first thought I think could be, now I had done some homework on Syracuse before. So my first thought, I still like the over, but I'd say if you haven't looked at the schedule, if you're a casual college football fan just tuning in, you're like, whoa, I don't know. We go like 6-6 every year at Dino Babers or 5 somewhere between that. But take a look at this schedule, because I'm going to make the case that I think this is the best schedule to get in the ACC out of any single team. And that's why, to me, Lonte, I don't know if you've heard me talk about this on other shows, but like, I really think I love college sports, but it can also be stupid. You know what I mean? Like, obviously we could do 10 hours on the NCAA, but, the 12 team playoff was based off of something that they started drawing up the 12 team playoff in like 2017.
Yep.
Well, it was a little different back then, because every conference had like anywhere between 10 and 14 teams. Like the Big 12 had 10 teams, SEC had 14, Pac-12 had 12. You know what I mean? So like, it was a completely different landscape. They finally pushed this thing through, but now we get every conference with like 17, 18 teams. And there's an auto bid on the line. You win the ACC, you're in. I don't think they really thought that through at the time, because I don't think you're going to end up in majority of these conferences. The Big Ten would be the only one that I think might go chalk. I think you're looking for the best schedule more than you're looking for the best teams these days. Whereas before you would say like, hey, let me look at the best teams. So I actually think there's a legit chance here that we don't even see Clemson or Florida State in the ACC championship, because so many other teams have a more favorable schedule this season. Let's get into it. Week 1, Ohio comes to town. Ohio's a good team, but you want to talk about a team that I honestly think they might've got hit the hardest in the portal out of any fucking team out of the 134.
They're
really
starting.
Their starting quarterback is now starting at Indiana. Their backup quarterback's now a backup at Cal. Their entire, like their best receivers at UCF. Their D line is everywhere. Their O line is everywhere. This is a for sure win for me, even though it's Fran Brown's first game. I just don't think Ohio has that depth. I feel sorry for Ohio in a way, because I like that program, but I'm like, damn, when I saw how many people left there, I don't see them being able to beat a P5 right away, especially one that just brought in all this talent.
Yeah, I agree with you. First game at home under a new regime, it's going to be insane there. So I think that is a clear win. I would expect them to kind of blow the doors off those guys.
Yeah, me too. I'm curious what that number will be, because I think I'm going to lay it. Week 2, they get Georgia Tech, but it will be Georgia Tech's third game, which I do think is a slight advantage. But Georgia Tech's still doing a lot of fucking travel though. They're in Dublin, Ireland in week 0. Then they come back to Atlanta to take on Georgia State. And then they head to Syracuse, New York. So definitely a lot of travel, but this is one where I gotta be honest. I was doing the Georgia Tech preview, and by me doing the preview, what's great about doing all 134 previews is sometimes you come across like, whoa, Georgia Tech's better than what I think they were. And that's why I think that we take them with the points against Florida State. But this is a 50-50 game to me. But the fact it's at the Carrier Dome, like you alluded to, their excitement, there's a chance Georgia Tech could be a little beaten up by taking on Florida State and then little brother Georgia State. So I'm going to lean Q's, but I don't have strong conviction to this one. Do you?
Yeah, not really. Ironically, I think Georgia State's coach is from Georgia as well, so they'll be facing back-to-back Georgia like assistants or
That's
people who
right.
work on the
That's
staff.
right.
So
Yeah.
I think that's an interesting wrinkle. And I think Georgia State they'll be up for that game. That's big for
Oh,
for the state, and it'll be at home. So yeah, it'll be at Georgia Tech, but yeah, I think this is a decent spot for Syracuse. This is the one where we'll know right away, okay, they're here, because their defense is going to get tested here against Georgia Tech, because Georgia Tech has a dynamic offense with the Haynes backfield, and they got good receivers. Great, they got a great defensive mind at the head coach. So it'll be the first test. I think they slip by them. Maybe they'll be like a 1.5, 2 point. I think I have them 2-point favorite at home, but coin flip game here. So I'll go with Syracuse.
Yeah, the fact they're at home, I think, could be all the difference here. Carrier Dome, good home field advantage, despite my hatred for the Carrier Dome. They get a bye week 3 now. I will say I'd rather not have my bye week this early. If you're asking me to complain about the schedule, it would probably be that. But and they're kind of America's team. They play a lot of weeknight games. This one starts on September 20th. They are hosting Stanford coming. This is a conference game, folks. The All Coast Conference. Stanford coming all the way to Syracuse, New York. Did I say Syracuse coming to Syracuse, New York? Stanford coming to Syracuse, New York. I think Syracuse is going to get this done here. I'll give them 3-0 out the gate. How about you?
Yeah, I like that as well. Stanford is one of those sneaky teams that I like. So maybe I'll be taking the points, but I think Syracuse ends up edging them out. I think that'll be a high scoring game as well. Yeah,
I just did the Stanford preview too. I do like the over on them. I think people are underestimating.
I agree. Love the coaching staff.
Yeah, the Cardinal a little bit there. Week 4, brand new head coach over there at Holy Cross. Bob Chesney left for James Madison. So Holy Cross, who was an FCS playoff team like every damn year. However, this is a rebuild for Holy Cross. Q is going to be 4-0. Can you imagine the excitement around campus? Let's go.
Yep, 4-0. I agree.
Yeah,
I agree, man. Bob Chesney out, quarterback out. I think a lot of the defensive and offensive fronts in the trenches are out. I think this is a good tune-up game for them to get ready to go to Las Vegas.
Yes, at week 5, Friday night, they head to Las Vegas to take on UNLV. Look, I don't know if you're a new time listener. I think UNLV's stadium is the biggest joke in college football, because I think you should play at college campuses, and or at least a college stadium like Sam Boyd. UNLV does this thing, and it's the same way as the Raiders. And this is why in a way I'm anti sports in Vegas. Well, unless you're going to do like Sam Boyd, where it's like, that's not on the strip, that you have to know Vegas to get to Sam Boyd, right? This thing is not going to, like, I have you been to Allegiant Stadium?
Yeah, I have. Mm-hmm.
This shit's a road game for the home team.
Oh, absolutely. No home field advantage. No home field advantage.
It's just stupid. You're like, oh, I got in an argument with someone at UNLV, and they're like, yeah, well, our ticket sales are up. I'm like, yeah, I know that, because it's right there next to Mandalay Bay or whatever. But I'm saying, of course it is, but they're not UNLV fans, so it's hurting your program more than it's helping it. Yeah. Dude, Fresno State played there last year, and it was a goddamn Fresno State home game. Or no, it wasn't last year. It's 2 years ago, I think, with Arroyo, right? My point is Syracuse fans can travel, and also there's a shit ton of them on the West Coast. Mm-hmm. If Syracuse is 4-0, this is going to be a Syracuse home game.
I agree.
They're beating UNLV 5-0. Let's go.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be a tough game. First road start. I'm not worried about McCord. I'm more so worried about Fran Brown and the coaching staff being in their first hostile environment. Not really a hostile environment, but again, you're not
first road game. Yeah,
you're not as comfortable as you were at home. Now, granted, I think they got the guys. We don't know what the situation is going to be for quarterback for UNLV. So they got a hell of a receiver that Deuce is going to have to, he's going to have to put his big boy shorts on for that matchup. But I think all in all, I think they'll be able to win there.
Yeah, I think they would too. He's referring to Ricky White, who's a stud wideout. Yeah. I got to interview in Mountain West Media Day. And I think it's going to be Matthew Saluka, the Holy Cross transfer. at the quarterback spot. But yeah, it's still a competition between him and Haj Malik Williams, the Campbell transfer. But yeah, I mean, UNLV is they're certainly more talented than UNLV teams of the past. I'll give Barry Odom that credit. Back-to-back away, you go from Vegas to Carter Finley Stadium. This is a loss.
Yeah.
And look, folks know I don't like NC State.
Me either.
But this is a loss. Yeah, this is a loss. This place. Hey, NC State. As much as I like to talk shit about them, they do pack that stadium, and they're a good fan base. They're a good fan base, even though, I could say a lot of bad things about them. But I think they lose their first game right here. Back-to-back aways. The stats on that, just in general, your kids are 18 to 22 years old, or I know the COVID eligibility, 18 to 27 years old. And, but I'm saying it's just, I just think it's a bad spot. They're losing this game. Yeah. You agree?
Yeah, I agree with you. 6-1 going into the bye. I think you got a lot of positivity going into that bye. NC State's a tough team. Obviously Dave Doeren gets it done. They have one of the best home field advantages in the country, no matter where you play in Raleigh, that place is always packed. They always do things to a high level. I think they're one of the more underrated home field advantages in the nation.
I agree.
I think they've won over 75% of their home games.
That's true. And they were little bitches when East Carolina beat them there, and East Carolina tore down their goalposts, and they suspended the rivalry. But you're right. I do think NC State wins this game, and that puts still, like you said, 5-1 going into the bye. Syracuse fans are still going to be through the roof because now there's a 12-team playoff. This is why the 12-team playoff is so much better. I made a list, a couple weeks back of 65 teams that I think should have optimistic chances of potentially making the playoff. Just that alone. Before you didn't have that. Look at Florida State last year. They fucking went undefeated. They weren't even allowed to the part. You know what I mean? Fan bases before college football, as much as I love it, would shoot itself in the foot for, building new fans. And I think at 5-1 at the bye week, you're sitting there saying, look at the remaining schedule. We can do this. We can get to the ACC championship game, but a big game is coming out of the bye week Thursday night. This is their third nationally televised game. So Fran Brown not only killing it on the recruiting front, getting out there on TV. Hey, that shit matters. Going to Heinz Stadium or whatever the hell they call this stadium now, acupuncture shit, whatever. But this is a dangerous game to me because when Pitt's supposed to be bad, they're good. And
right.
And also the way Pitt plays, I feel like Pitt's also had a good record against Syracuse under Narduzzi. They are not a finesse team. They are there's a reason why, you look at Clemson's stats against the entire SEC under Dabo Swinney. It's Pitt that gives them the most trouble, right? And there's a reason why. Pitt always has talent that you don't know about, Aaron Donald went here. You know what I mean? They have guys that are they have a long history of guys that just make. That's why I say Pennsylvania is underrated for recruiting.
It is. Yep.
Oh man, why do I love the bye week before it though, man, to get you up for this, but I kind of think they dropped this one, man. I kind of just think Pitt and Narduzzi will be ready for this, but they could win this. I don't feel great about me taking Pitt here. What are you doing here?
Yeah, I'm indifferent about it. I'm indifferent about Pitt altogether because Narduzzi went away from what I felt like he was the year that they had Kenny Pickett, Jordan Addison. They were high flying. Offense was really good. And
they fired the OC.
Yeah, and then he wants to get rid of them, but because he wants to run the ball more. And then he gets rid of him, and he has a shit year the next year. And now he brings in a guy who's going to run up tempo and do the same thing that you fired the other guy for doing.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to expect. I can tell you this: between this game and Virginia Tech, they're going to win one or the other. I think they're going to split both of those. Maybe Pittsburgh slips bottom. They're always so physical in the trenches, and I think we both had questions about Syracuse's defensive line, so I think that could be the difference. So I'll take Pittsburgh here.
Yeah, that's my thing too. You might get some weather too by this point. Pittsburgh gets a little chilly.
Oh yeah.
But the next game is home to Virginia Tech, and I do think they get the Hokies here. I'm with you. I think they go 1-1 in that stretch. So that would put them at 6 wins right there, folks. Then they head to Chestnut Hill to take on Boston College. Patty C has been, he put this out in the universe 5 years ago that the reason why Boston College hasn't been winning is they have a long track record of winning with Irish coaches, and they stopped doing that. So finally they got Bill O'Brien. He said this 5 years ago on the show. He's like, they need to go hire Bill O'Brien. I don't know how the hell this came true, but it did. Shout out to Patty C, because he definitely put this energy into the universe, and it somehow came to fruition. I think Syracuse is a better team than Boston College right now. I know that it's on the road, and weather could play an element here too. I'm taking Q's. They're going to win this road game. What are you doing here?
I'm bullish on Boston College. I think Boston College gets it done on the road.
They could. I mean, I'm intrigued by the hire. I think I was sleeping on the hire a little bit.
After 2 back-to-back physical games with 2 big fronts in the trenches, I think that they'll be down a little bit. I think they'll be beat up a little bit. You're going back on the road. You're going from road home to back on the road. I think this will be a big spot for Boston College. So I'm going Boston College here.
All right. I mean, I can see it. Like I said, with Syracuse, some of these games you just got that. But now they head from Boston. This has got to be the longest road trip, by the way, in the country. From going at Boston to Berkeley, fucking California.
Right.
They're losing this game to me. Like, just the mileage alone, I don't got them winning in Berkeley. But I will say this. If Cal sucks this year, which I don't think they will, I think this is the most talented roster Cal's had since like 2007 with Jeff Tedford, or 2008. But Justin Wilcox could be fired. I should note that there's a chance if they underachieve, they could be getting an interim head coach, and this could be much more winnable than I see. However, I am kind of bullish on Cal this year. I think this roster Cal has is really good. I think Justin Wilcox is actually a good coach. He just dealt with crazy scenarios with COVID in Berkeley, California. So I'm taking Cal to win this. What do you got them going out to Berkeley and grabbing the dub?
I got Syracuse grabbing it because of exactly what you said. I think that Wilcox will be gone by then. I mean, he's kind of lost his fastball. Defense was his thing, and he wasn't like he wasn't that. They weren't that good. They're usually competitive, and they got their doors blown off by teams that they were supposed to beat last year. And I think it had a lot to do with that defense, because obviously we know, Jaden Ott is a beast. So
yeah,
I mean, they can run the football. The quarterback is a question mark to me. I mean, I'm not a big fan of that room. So I think Syracuse can go down and get the win after a tough loss in Boston College.
There might be some Q's fans there for that. There's a lot of Q's on the West Coast, man. There's a lot of Q's fans on the West Coast. I don't know that they're accustomed to going to football games, but there are a lot of fans out here in California. Memorial Stadium, by the way, if you haven't been to Cal Berkeley, that stadium's incredible. So yeah, I got them losing. You got to win it. So wait, our records are then still the same, right? We got what do we got them at? 6-4. I got the Cal, Pitt, NC State. No, 7-3, right?
Yeah, 7-3. Yep.
So we're right on the number. And Jim Mora and UConn come to town. Watch UConn be better than.
I love UConn this year.
I kind of like the over on them too, man. Shout out to Jim Mora. He's been on our show. You got UConn upsetting them?
No, I don't. But I love UConn though. I'll be taking the points. But
yeah, I think I will too.
Yeah, UConn is under. They brought in a lot of Power 5 transfers.
And year 3, I think, is when he really turned that corner.
Yeah, I like them, but I think Syracuse gets them.
So that puts us at 8 wins. And let me build this up a little bit here, folks. If Miami, first off, there's a chance Cristobal could be fired for this game. I should preface that. I don't think it will happen. I think they'll give him until next year. But I also want to highlight this. Miami, a lot of people have Miami in the ACC championship or winning the ACC championship game. Right. And look, Miami spent like arguably the most amount of money short of Ohio State in the portal this offseason, bringing in Damian Martinez, Cam Ward, all these Sam Brown, all these great players. But they've done that for a few years. They did that the year before. right? Maybe just not at the quarterback spot, but they paid up at many other spots. If they fall short, because I think Miami's schedule does have more bumps on it than people think. I think it's an interesting scenario and something that we as handicappers need to start factoring in with the 12-team playoff. If Miami is disqualified for the ACC championship here, and they have more losses than 3, which is possible, they might not show up for this game because the season will be fucking over, whether it's playoffs or whether it's ACC championship. If that happens, I could see a scenario where the Qs really put it on Miami. So it's an interesting spot. I actually think that's gonna happen. I think Miami's gonna lose to Florida out the gate, and I think they'll have a couple losses, and I think their season will be cooked by November 30th. So I'm gonna say Qs win this and go 9-3. Am I insane?
No, I don't think so. I think you're right on the money. I think you broke it down perfectly. Yeah, I think they're going to lose to Florida to open the season, and maybe those guys quit on Cristobal, or some of those guys are halfway out the door before. That's what I'm saying. They even get to this game. So I think this will be a 9-4 season, or 9-4 for them. I think that's big. I think that's big, and you carry momentum going into the offseason.
9-3.
I'm sorry. Yeah, you'll be 9-3 going into the offseason. You'll get a possible New Year's 6, maybe.
Well, dude, let's talk about this here. If you're 9-3, once again, these people for the playoffs, they have yet to release their tiebreakers for all these conferences, because I think they stumbled upon the same thing I stumbled upon, which was like, wait a second here. If you're gonna, by you having this many teams in a conference, someone's gonna have, like, it's gonna be A, incredibly hard to write the tiebreaker, and B, how do you avoid not getting your best, or you want to get your best teams in the in each championship game, but it's almost hard to do because you have 17 fucking teams in a conference. You can't, unless you're, especially if you're judging wins. I think if you lose 3 games like we have them now, unfortunately, we have all 3 losses being within the ACC.
They could easily win 2 of those, though.
True. But even a 3-loss team might get in. I know, like, for the Big 12, we're saying that we think a 3-loss team is going to probably end up in the Big 12 championship game. There's a shot. Now, I think personally, they probably got to get to 2 losses to get in or have a chance of truly getting in.
Yeah.
But 3, it could be 3, man, with the way the schedule aligns. Which is why I think you jump on that. I know we're on the over here, but I think you jump on that plus 4,500 to win the ACC championship, because look, if they don't win the ACC championship, they're not making the playoffs. They're not going to put Qs in. And also they don't have enough strength of schedule. They don't play Florida State, Clemson, or Louisville. I tend to think that it's worth, who knows who they would be playing. Now, obviously it'd be terrible for them to play Clemson or Florida State because they probably get beat up. But I think there's a shot with these big ass conferences that you're not facing the best actual rosters. You're facing the best actual schedules. So you could be playing Louisville. You could be playing NC State. You could be playing North Carolina, right? You could be playing Virginia Tech again. And I wouldn't be shocked if Syracuse beat any of those teams. You know what I mean? So I think it's worth the sprinkle there. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, because if you look at it, Florida State and Clemson play each other, so that's a loss for one of those. And then I feel like it's a pecking order of, it's clearly Clemson and Florida State, but they have flaws as well. Not sold on K Klubnik, not sold on DJ, and a new system for the third time. I think their offense is predicated on not his skill set, so I'm not sure how he'll mesh there. Now, obviously, Clemson's defense is going to be elite, but I'm not sold on their offense. So if you look after Clemson, Florida State, NC State, SMU, I think everybody else is pretty much in the same bucket.
Yeah.
So if those 2 games or 2 out of the 3 games, they're possibly win, or they could. I mean, hell, they probably could win all 3, possibly.
Dude,
I mean, obviously, it's probably, yeah. I mean, it's not going to happen, probably.
If you want to get crazy, I'm on board because like we see NC State lose to a team they shouldn't lose to every year, right?
Yeah, I just wish it was on the road and not at home.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, I don't know that there's a 100% flat out loss on the schedule where I feel like a lot of schedules we preview, like I put NC State at like 90%.
Yeah, because I got them at like 11. I got them at like 11.5 point favorite.
Yeah.
So that's roughly
fair.
like right around like 80. I think 89%, 85.
But if they get a little bit of luck here, like, God forbid, I don't want to see Grayson McCall get injured. I like Grayson McCall, but if he gets dinged up or something and they get past NC State because of a quarterback injury or something crazy like this, this could be a truly magical season with the way the schedule aligns. It could really be regardless. I think it'll be a magical first year for Fran Brown. I think they'll probably extend him right away because I think other schools will be saying, whoa, who the hell is this? Yeah, I'm on the over, and I think the ACC championship's in play, man. I really do. Anything else you want to add? It seems like you're on board. You would you take a future on the conference tournament?
I definitely would, because if everything clicks right, you got to think like they're coming in. Obviously, the coaching staff is inexperienced, but the guy that you want to have the experience who's played in big time games is the quarterback. He's played at a higher level than what he's going to face in the ACC. He's got a weak schedule. He's got a good skill position talent. If the coaching staff can be, just average and make the right decisions as far as in-game adjustments and similar things like that, then I think this could be a hit, similar to what we saw with Mel Tucker and that Michigan State team.
Yes.
I think that's a perfect like comparison between the two. And Mel Tucker shocked those guys in the Big Ten, and Fran Brown obviously not as experienced as Mel Tucker, but I think they're in that same kind of hemisphere. So I wouldn't be surprised if they won 10 games, but I think the floor is 8. I really do think the floor is 8 games.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Georgia. Like, to me, in the first 5, I think the best chance of them losing is to Georgia Tech. Believe it or not.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And then NC State would be 2. Maybe Pitt gets them 3, and then maybe. I mean, to me, I'll put the floor at 7 and 5, but I still feel pretty damn good about it. Yeah, I still feel, anyway, yeah, folks, jump in on it. I think it could be a super exciting year. Let's get Archibald Stadium back going again. Build an outdoor event, outdoor stadium in New York. Lonte, I know you're not big on, Syracuse, New York weather, probably, if I had to guess.
I'm not.
But look, that's their advantage, though. That's why you should do it, right? It's like when you go play Miami, or if you go play at the Swamp. I remember Utah fans. I only heard it from the fans, not even the players, that when they went that trip, they were like, ooh, they were passing out in the third quarter.
Yeah, too many. Yeah, seriously.
Fucking humidity, and so you got to play to your advantages. Get on over there, rebuild it. We're done with this Carrier Dome. It's old, it's ancient. Although I like most old stadiums, folks. Check out Lonte though. Shout out to Lonte coming on the show here. And look, he writes a lot of great college football content over at sportsgamblingpodcast.com. Give him a follow on Twitter at XXLonte, LONTE. XX. I appreciate you hopping on the show, man. And check out all of his work, folks. NBA gambling podcast, MLB gambling podcast. Anything else you want to plug, man?
No, man, that's it. I'm pretty much, trying to do as much as I can to get the information out to people to have at their disposal. But I appreciate you having me on. Always fun. Like I said, I've been a fan of yours since before we were colleagues. And yeah, man, I appreciate the platform, and I'm looking forward to hopefully we can go 3 for 3 on our previews. And hopefully, when you're previewing the basketball team, maybe Kaya Anthony will already be committed to say
yes. And I'm going to hit you up to jump on some more of these football previews too, folks. Make sure you give Lonte a follow. Also check out myself on Twitter at @TheColbyD. The College Football Experience is on Twitter at TCE on SGPN. And also check out all of our work, like not only Lonte's great articles over there, sportsgamblingpodcast.com, but I host the College Basketball Experience. We talk college basketball year round over there. And when the season goes live, every single night of the season, We are talking college hoops. So get on over there and check out that. Also, the FCS college football experience. Maybe you are a Holy Cross fan out there. You want to know about your Crusaders. All right. Check out the FCS college football experience and check out the college baseball experience. I know Syracuse, it's tough. I don't know that you have a program, but hey, tomorrow's a new day. You got that dome. Why can't you fucking play baseball on that thing? Right. So try it out. All right. Also check out the Stadium Heads podcast. I do a deep dive on me and Michael Barker, aka College Football Campus Tour, talk about the history of college football stadiums and why college football is the best. It's still got the soul, right? It's still, I mean, maybe Archbald Stadium's gone, but when Syracuse is playing at Cal or at BC or at NC State, you're playing in the same place for 100 fucking years as others have been playing there. When you're playing at Cal, you're like, damn, Marv Levy used to coach here, right? Holy shit, that was a long time ago, right? But there's a lot of great history in college football to me that I think helps. One of the ingredients of why college football I love so much. So check it out. We do a deep dive on Archibald Stadium and even talk positively to a certain extent on that Carrier Dome that you're calling something else now. So check out that. Check out the Sports Gambling Podcast as well. Till next time, folks. This is the college football experience, Syracuse Orangemen style. You better start thinking about yours, and we out of here.
Run and shoot. We can really run and shoot.